what is the purpose of our physical reality? Let's just suppose, put all your skepticism out the window, and let's just say that there is pure, beautiful, cosmic source understanding, light, beyond time and space, infinite, and that we'll call it God. And this God wants what's absolutely best for us. Why does this God put 7-8 billion of us into this physical universe, into these flesh suits for 70, 80, 90, 100 years? Why does this happen? You know, in a certain way, this must be the perfect soul-growing laboratory. Otherwise, it wouldn't have been created. Again, we're taking the supposition that there is this all-encompassing, beautiful, loving light and this is just the beginning of a journey of great continuation. So, what is the purpose of our physical reality? It is to struggle and grow. We're here to struggle and grow. This is why oftentimes atheists say, well, I don't believe in God necessarily, but I can understand that we might be an avatar inside of a video game. This might have a meta, construct element to it. And when we die, we wake up outside of this kind of 3D hologram reality, because video games are kind of a great metaphor for being a human being on planet Earth. You struggle, you suffer, you have limited lives, you beat the beast monster, and you overcome, and you hop from ledge to ledge, and you drive your car here without crashing or whatever to move forward. And this is what it is to be a human being. And there are some terrible tests out there that I wouldn't wish on anyone. One can only guess at God's infinite wisdom. It's one of the big kind of metaphysical and philosophical questions of all time. If there is an all-loving God, why is there so much suffering on the planet? But for the majority of us, again, our suffering and our tests and our difficulties are the things that we end up being the most grateful for. And that's because they've allowed us to mature and grow wiser and grow closer to God and develop those spiritual qualities we talked about before, like kindness and generosity and joy and humility and honesty. That's what this 3D construct world is for. We've got a short, there's a metaphor in the Baha'i faith. There's some mystical writing that it's like this physical world is like a banquet hall, and it's a sparrow flying through the banquet hall, and it flies through and it bumps against the windows and it eats some grapes and some pie, and it flies through and it flies on out. And that's life, is a sparrow flying through a banquet hall. I just love that image for some reason. I'm not exactly sure why, but that's what we're doing here. That's the purpose of physical reality. And, the Buddha said, life is suffering. You can also translate it as there is suffering. We are in suffering, and guess what? There's a way out of suffering from non-attachment, and we can be freed from so much of our own suffering. And I will say that if humanity were able to put aside war and greed and materialism and nationalism and one-upsmanship and kind of the most grotesque aspects of capitalism and consumerism, and we were able to come together in harmony and service on the planet and put all of that technology that's currently used to be building drones to be fighting cancers and diseases, we could absolutely feed everyone on the planet. We could be living a very healthy, beautiful, amazing life. We're not there yet. You talked about humanity being in its turbulent adolescence, which is very true. And humanity's going to head to rehab. We're going to have to fall down hard and split our head open, and there's going to be some suffering. And hopefully we come out on the other side, having some wisdom, some serenity, and some focus.
Well said. I really like the understanding how suffering in many ways is like the price of admission for the illusion of separation. You know,
That's so well said.
like separation is, of course, an essential, like without separation, we don't have the experience of otherness. So if like the infinite consciousness needs to descend into its many different differentiations to go on a data collection process and to experience itself, to become itself in so many ways, then part of that process is forgetting that is our true nature, and the bashing of our heads against the wall and the pain and the suffering that is inevitable on the path to realizing who we are in our true nature. When you have studied through the Baha'i, through all these, you know, Native American religions and a lot of different beautiful spirituality, how do you view this realm? And I've heard you speak to, again, these like two forces at play that can be viewed through the views of many different, you know, spiritual wisdom traditions and religions, that there are these two forces at play constantly, collectively and then also individually in our life. And I'm curious what you think about those two forces as it contributes to what makes up, you know, reality in many ways.
Yeah, the forces that you're referring to and you mentioned before is, again, another idea I stole from some Baha'i. I borrowed
it
from some Baha'i ways of thinking. But I just love the way this phrase sums up so much of what's happening in our contemporary life. There are forces of integration bumping up against, working alongside forces of disintegration. Both of these things are happening at the same time. Our political system is disintegrating. It's becoming more and more disunified and corrupt as it goes along. And at the same time, more and more people are searching, are questing, are looking for connection, are coming together. More and more social injustices that were just a given a few decades ago are now questioned, you know, at the grassroots. And this is another thing that's hard for young people dealing with a mental health crisis to see. They only see the disintegration, and they're not looking towards the integration, or they're confused that there are two forces going on at the same time. We like things black and white, like, oh, the world is a mess and it's all fucked up and it's all falling apart, right? Yes, the world is also beautiful. People are coming together. There are amazing things happening. There's incredible organizations and movements and communities that are being built at the same time. So how do we hold in our awareness both of these things happening at the same time? It's very much in the Hindu tradition. I wish I was more well-versed, but I'm thinking about like Maya and a world of illusion. I'm thinking about like gods of chaos and gods of peace, and, you know, all of these forces kind of swirling at the same time. And our job is to align ourselves with the forces of integration. So where do you find that? You can find that in a youth group, in a therapy session, in a 12-step room, in a church basement. You know, you can find that at a synagogue. You can find that in a meetup.org hiking group on a Sunday morning. You can find that in a meditation group. You can find it in a nonprofit that's really trying to make a difference. You can find it in a group of people that are addressing injustices and imbalances in your neighborhood or community and are actually doing something about it. Align yourself, hang your hat on the forces of integration. Disintegration is going to take care of itself. You know, the doom scrolling, the headlines, the outrage headlines and outrage clicks, that's all happening. We get to let that go, and in these brief, beautiful, sacred days that we have left, align ourselves with integration, with people coming together and building community.